Hello, my name is Nick, and welcome to Watch This Now. It's another episode of my 13 Nights of Halloween special, night number 9. I got my jack-o'-lantern shirt on. We are getting so close to Halloween, and that means I am getting more and more excited with each and every video. Night of the Living Dead is a horror classic that I shouldn't have to break down for you, but here we go. Night of the Living Dead is an independent zombie thriller made by writer-director George A. Romero on a shoestring budget in the area that he was from. He pulled all the resources he could together from everyone that was willing to help out and managed to pull this film off by sheer will, yet you wouldn't notice it considering that at 50 years old, this film still holds up. Every time I revisit it, I just think that it plays out exactly as I would write this type of film, and it impresses me every single time. It's interesting that Night of the Living Dead was shot on black and white film because that was cheaper at the time, yet now looking back on it, one looks older than it is and more classic, and it kind of gives it that old school horror classic feel that is exactly why I think it's a perfect pick for your Halloween watch list. It first screened in 1968, but then a year later in 1969 it was re-released when it began to attain a larger following. The film shocked audiences, challenged social norms, and created the zombie as we know it today. Night of the Living Dead is a film that I will always champion. Whether you haven't watched it in a while or you think some old black and white horror flick isn't gonna scare you, I strongly urge you to watch Night of the Living Dead. It is so worth your time, and I'm gonna explain exactly why it is a perfect Halloween pick for you. Night of the Living Dead, again, has that old school black and white horror aesthetic, which is interesting because it gives you the look of that old-timey horror film, yet it plays like a fast-paced thriller of today. One thing that I love about this film that of course gets me in the Halloween spirit is that if you're a horror fan, you have seen Night of the Living Dead playing on the screen in so many other lesser horror films because, if you didn't know, this film was public domain for many years. I think just within the last couple of years the rights reverted back to the original creators, and so for many years this film was used in other horror films to sort of give it that little boost. And I've watched so many of those crappy horror films that then show parts of Night of the Living Dead, and it just sticks with you. It's like one that you just want to throw on to get that old school feel. As I mentioned, Night of the Living Dead basically created the modern zombie. This film has such classic zombie thrills throughout, and I really like the zombies in this one particularly because it was before zombies were turned and molded into all different kinds of things, but here they act in a smarter way than they do in films that we have seen more recently. They're very interesting creations, and there are just so many of them. But also the sequences that play out with them, I think these types of villains are used to greatest effect. What adds to that terrifying environment is the farmhouse that our characters are trapped within, trying to fight off the living dead. We have, outside of the horror element, we have the horrors of just our characters trying to survive in this situation. With few resources and an impending threat, our characters soon turn on each other, which is why you'll see in so many other zombie films and TV shows that characters will screw each other over and ruin the story because they're trying to do what was done so well in this original film. The trappings of our location mixed with the metaphor of class and power struggle really drives home a threat beyond the horrors presented by the zombies, which adds a double layer that works. Sometimes that can ruin a film, but the balance is done so perfectly thanks to George A. Romero's direction here and the brilliant performance by Dwayne Jones, who is one of the best horror heroes ever. And like I said, this film moves in a pretty fast-paced manner. It really does. There's a little lag time in the beginning, but I like it because it's establishing the environment that we're in and how things are going to play out. And then I think our characters do a lot of the things that they should in the moments that they're supposed to. We really play this entire scenario out in just the right way, and it makes for such an entertaining ride that's easy to come back to every Halloween. I could talk about Night of the Living Dead forever, so don't tempt me, but I would say that This, along with the rest of the films that I'm going to be talking about, are just pure horror classics in my mind. They just really drive home exactly what I want out of a horror film, and it's why I think that they're perfect ones to throw on during the October season. It might not be filled with Halloween imagery, but it still drives home the Halloween feel that I'm trying to get from these films due to its really well done content. And I'm so looking forward to sharing those thoughts with you on the rest of the films over the next few nights until this special concludes. Oh, I wish it could be Halloween forever. Unfortunately, it can't be, so we have to enjoy it while we can, which means you should subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications so you can see my other 13 Nights of Halloween episodes as they are uploaded, and like this video, share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it as always. I'll see you in my next video, and have a happy Halloween.